Good day, and welcome back to another session of Helping Me, where we learn C sharp. Again, we're on the loops and conditions, but more specifically, this time we'll be talking about while loops and do while loops. Let's get into it. And like always, we're going to be making a new project, and we're going to call this one while loops. While loops. Okay, while I declare some variables, I will try to briefly give an explanation of a while and a do while loop. Okay, a while loop is basically, it can be an endless loop, but in most cases, it is a loop that runs until a certain condition is fulfilled. So, say for instance, we had one of our if statements with a condition. Say, for instance, it was if number equals 2 was our condition for that loop. Instead of saying if number equals 2, we'd say while number is equal to 2, then it would run this loop infinitely. Or we can say while number is not equal to 2, it can run this loop until it does equal 2. That's basically how your while loop will perform. And also, I forgot to teach you guys one more variable that I think will be handy for our while loops, and that variable is a Boolean. It is specified by the keyword BOOL. Basically, what a Boolean is, it is a variable that can only be set to true or false. So our variable, we're going to name it, is true. And we're going to set it to false. I'm just going to use this one throughout this video so that you guys can get a sense of how it works. And since this is not Java, all of the keywords true and false are set to lowercase f and l. I mean f and t. Okay. All right. Let's demonstrate the while loop first so we can see how that works. And since I haven't shown you guys Booleans and how they work, we're going to use that throughout most of this one so that you guys can get a pretty good look on that. Okay, much like our if statement, we started with the keyword of while, just like we did with switch. Started with switch, if started with if. So this one we're going to start with while, followed by the brackets, followed by parentheses in our brackets. And in our parentheses is going to be our condition that we're going to check for each time we go through this loop. So as long as our condition is true, the loop will continue. So for this condition, we're going to say while is true. Now, if we were to do while is true, this loop would never run. And I guess you can guess the reason for that. And that's because it is set to false. So our condition is automatically false. So it's saying while is true, which is false, run. So it's false, so it won't run. This condition has to be true to run. So instead of doing that, we could change this to true. And our condition will run now. And I'll show you an example of why it won't run and why it will run. So let's change it back to false and give you that example of it not running. So while is true, I want to print out we're just going to print out, is it working? So let's see if it prints out for us. Control F5. It's building a little slow. All right. Nothing came up except for the is key to continue, pressure key to continue. So as you can see, anytime that this condition within this block or within these parentheses comes up to be false, the statement, the while loop will not run at all. So if we were to set this to true, our statement would now execute. And it would infinitely, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's just infinitely writing is working. And it's still writing it, and it will never stop because we have no way to break out of this loop. So, good way to crash a computer. Another key I'm going to teach you guys today is the exclamation point. And what this does, so I'm talking about this for anybody who doesn't know what that is. I'm sure everybody does, but regardless. Basically what this key means, let's write it in a comment. Our exclamation point stands for not. And how it's used is basically to negate a condition that you set. So say for instance, we went back to our is true in this statement where it was instantly false because we have false set there. We could negate this outcome by simply putting not. So now it reads while not is true, or while is not true, however you want to read that. So basically now it's set to the opposite of whatever the outcome was to begin with. So now it's set to true. And it'll run as long as it is true. So whenever we negate it back, the loop will stop running. So if we run it right now, it's going to go infinitely again, like we had it the first time. See? If you guys see that. I can't even scroll up. Okay. So that's how you would use that. You could also use it in this fashion. Let's see. We can go while our number is not equal to 5. So you can do it like that when you're doing it equals to something. If you put it in the front of the equal sign, it's saying not equal to this. So while it's not equal to 5, it'll infinitely run. I'll show you that again. Infinitely is... Okay. Now, we're going to go back to our is true. And we're going to make it while is true negated. And within our while loop, we can add switches, we can add if statements, and I'm going to show you guys an if statement in this one. So let's say if our number equals 10. So if our number equals 10, we're going to make this loop exit itself. So if our number equals 10, we want to remember the keyword I taught you guys, break. In this case, instead of breaking out of our switch statement, it will break out of our while loop. So it performs the same for any condition that it's set in. If we were running multiple ifs, it would break out of an if. If you run a while, it breaks out of a while. Run the switch, breaks out of your switch. And actually, instead of using a break here, I think it would be better to just set our Boolean, our is true Boolean. It's a better example. Set our is true Boolean to true. Only reason I say this is better is because we used it here, and if it's set to true, the while will not run. Most cases you want to use a break if there is no clear-cut exit to your loop. Then you'd find a shifty or crafty way to put a break into it. But for here, this should be sufficient. And we're going to make it right. So it's all about right line. I am exiting your loop. And as we have it right now, this if statement will never be performed because our number is equal to 4. So, like we learned from our basics video, we're going to increment the number. So each time our while loop runs, we're going to set our number plus equals 1. So each time our while loop iterates, we're going to increase our number by 1. And another way you could increase your number by 1 is to write this statement here, number plus plus. What this means is anytime your while loop hits this number statement, it will take into account what number is right now, and then after it takes into account your number, it'll plus it and move on to the next iteration. This will be explained in more detail on our next video about for loops. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it at this, but just to get you guys prepared for it, I'll show you right now. All right, so let's run this and you'll see that our while loop should iterate about 6 times. So let's see how that runs. Control F5. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times. It also ran for the 10 because our right line, our right line is before the if statement, so it ran an extra. But as you can see, as it got to that one, it exited our loop because it was set to true and it stopped printing. So that's basically how you shift through a while loop. I'll show you another neat way you can use your while loop just with what we've learned so far. Let's throw our switch statement in here, and we're going to make the switch statement also run for the case of numbers. And in the switch statement, we're going to go if our number can equal 5, we want to write something. Console.writeLine. We want it to write I am 5. And just for convenience, we're going to copy paste this. Well, let's write our break first. Break. Now we're going to copy paste it. Just make this go a little faster. And if we get a 6, gonna copy paste. Oh wow, I didn't copy it. So bad. All right, copy paste. I am 6. Case. Oh no. See, I'm messing up. If case is 7, I'm gonna print it one more time. I am 7. And anything past 7, we're going to refer to our default. And our default will be to set is true equal to false. Oh, is it false? No, we're going to set it's true because it's negated up there. Yep. So we're going to set it's true. So then it's negated to false. And break. All right, let's see how this one runs. I'll read it out to you guys so you guys can understand what's going on before I run it. So while is true, negated, so this is true. We are going to write out is it working on every iteration, and then we're going to run this switch statement on every iteration, which is based on our variable for number. In the case that it equals 5, it's going to print I am 5. In the case that it's equal to 6, it's going to print I am 6. 7, I am 7. And when it is a variable or number that is not listed up here, it will refer to our default method, which will set is true to true, and that will be negated up here, so it will be set to false. And our loop will stop running completely. And if you notice, we have our number plus equals 1 down here. So in this case, our loop will only run one time. And that is because our number is currently set to 4. So once it iterates through all of this, it will ignore case, all of these cases, and refer to our default case because a 4 is not here and the number does not get incremented until we reach this bottom here. So by the time it reaches this increment, we will already have set our condition to false, and it will not be running anymore. And I'll let you guys see that up here. See, it ran is working once. It ran our is working. It went through this check, and it was set to false right here. So it wasn't able to iterate through anything else. As you can see, I'll maximize it. I don't know if that really helped, but okay. Now let's make it so it does work. We're gonna just change our number to 5 so we don't have to rewrite anything. And we're going to control F5, run it again. Now you see, is it working? I am 5, is it working? 6, is it working? 7, is it working? And then it was set to false and it stopped running. So that's how a switch statement could be used in our while loop. Okay, now, since we have been shown the while loop, let me show you guys the do while loop, which is not much different from the while loop. The only difference between our while loop and our do while loop is simply that in a do while loop, we are guaranteed to execute at least one time. Whereas in our while loop, if this is instantly false, we won't execute anything. So in a do while loop, if this were do and then all of this, it would do this at least once, and then the while will be at the end. So the check would be at the end. And then after that iteration, if our check wasn't true, it would not do anything else. That's our basic difference between the two. So, let's see. And right off the bat, I wrote this out so I could explain it to you guys. Right off the bat, you're going to notice our format is much different. Not much different, but it's in a different order. As you can see, our do, it requires nothing after it because it simply opens up to us doing a statement. So it's saying do whatever we write in brackets, and then followed up by this, we put our while, and it's in the same format, but it's followed by a semicolon this time because it's the end of our sentence. So basically it's like we moved our brackets from this position to before our while. And let's just copy paste this code over here so we can get the same functionality. Copy, paste. So we're gonna write a different thing in here. We're gonna write I'm doing it. And if you just look back at the screen, this is the same exact code we wrote in the while loop. We just transferred it to this do while loop. So, all right, let's read this out to you. This is saying, do these things here. So do print out this, run our switch statement for number if it equals 5, 6, or 7, else refer to default. And then we're going, after we break out of our switch statement, we're going to increment our number by 1. And then after all of that is done, we're going to refer to our while and check to see if is number still returns a true. If is true returns false, then we will not execute a do again. So the do is completely reliant upon, well, after the first iteration, our do is completely reliant upon the while loop to know if it'll run again. All right, so on this iteration, it will definitely run more than once. Oh, wait. It will not run more than once. And the reason for that is because of our while loop here. Our first while loop, when it iterates, it already increments our number. And once it gets to 8, this is set to false. So once we get down here, since we're storing this variable up here outside of all of our loops, it's still stored as we move into our do loop or our do while loop. Therefore, it'll iterate through this one time, and then it will change this to true, which actually should still let it run, considering it's not negated here. Look at us learning together. So since we didn't negate it, this will have absolutely no effect. This will be an infinite loop. Let us see that, because I just noticed that. Infinite loop. Look at that. So yeah, since we set it to true here, and it was negated here, which is the only reason this value returned false, and it's not negated in our do while, so it will forever be true. No matter what number is put into this equation, it will remain true forever. So here, we're going to have to use a different indicator. So we're going to say while our number is less than 20. So we're going to do less than 20 here. So this will be irrelevant in this case. And we should get no printouts from these because our number will already be incremented past 7. Okay, let's run that so you guys can see. As you can see, since it was incremented during our first loop to 7 or past 7, now when we went to our do while loop, it only could print I'm doing it. And it did that several times. And once our number reached a value of 20, the loop stopped. Okay, hoping that makes sense to everybody. And here, I'm gonna do while loop. Oops, loop example. Okay, and that is it for our tutorial for today. If there is anything that you did not understand clearly, just let me know in the comments and I will be more than happy to answer your question or be more clear in the solution that I give to you. But for now, hope you all have a great day and thanks for being here. See you next time.